Hello! So for those of you who don't know me, my name is Maria. I went to sixth form and I finished last year, so in 2018. And I'm doing this video basically to talk a bit about the dreaded E word. Which I essentially didn't say or refused to hear for the duration of my sixth form time. I was so petrified for my exams. I was really scared. I think being a perfectionist as well, the revision guilt of if I'm doing enough, if I'm not doing enough, got to me. And I was scared. I was really scared. But it is normal to be scared, and it's okay to be scared. I remember my head of year telling me that being scared and crying or having like any kind of emotional reaction to it is perfectly normal, and it shows that you really care about your studies. And I think that really brought me back down to earth, because it did show me that I cared about what I was doing, how much I was revising, the revision that I was putting into it, the dedication, the time. It seemed like I was so attached to it that I didn't want the actual day to go pear-shaped. But the stress is real, so I do know what you're going through. And I had an incredibly difficult time with coping through the run-up to exams and the exams themselves, but especially the run-up to the exams. I think the run-up to the exams is so difficult because you aren't doing them yet. And you've got this constant thing like in the back of your head saying you've got this many days, you've got X many days, and like then it's go time, and which I didn't deal well with. And also your head is making up all of these scenarios of how the day can go. At least my head was always. It was like, oh, I haven't revised this topic yet. What if this topic comes up? What if that topic comes up? This uncertainty was driving me mad, and I was driving myself mad. Being a sufferer from anxiety as well, just everything was so heightened. The stress was heightened constantly. Anything that went wrong, whether it was related to my revision or exams or not, I would essentially have a meltdown. And it is normal to have meltdowns. It's a very, very natural reaction, because you are essentially, if you're in a revision bubble, you are probably in overdrive. And I know what that feels like. I know what it's like to be constantly thinking, constantly worrying about what's going to come up and how you're going to do, worrying about exam results day and you haven't even done your exams yet, things like that. I was worrying so much about the future, and it was taking so much energy out of the energy that I really could have used into my revision and the positive energy that I could have used into my revision. And it wasn't actually until I kind of found a routine and like a balance between work and life that I started to calm down a little bit. And I was never going to calm down to the extent of, oh, it's fine, exams are like my best friend, I'm going to do great. I was never going to be like that, because I'm not like that. But I did manage to kind of put the exams into perspective, or at least separate them from what else was going on, because there was lots going on, and there were some positives as well, which I tended to not focus on because exams seem to be taking over everything, which I know. But exams aren't everything. So with me and my routine, essentially what I would do is I definitely found myself in that revision bubble. I found myself getting incredibly stressed in this revision bubble. I felt like all I was doing was revising, and it was driving me crazy. And people kept telling me, why don't you just take a little break? And I was like, I can't take a break. What do you mean if I take a break and I'm gonna like lose such important revision time? But then I found that I wasn't wasting time when I thought I was wasting time. So for me, the idea of wasting time meant doing anything that wasn't revising. That was a waste of time for me, and that is so not true. That is so not true. And it's only now really that I see how much of a favour I was doing myself and giving myself from taking a break from revision. Essentially what I would do, so I'm a really keen horse rider and I love horses, I would spend as much time as possible at the stables that I was riding at. I would either have a few more lessons than normal, or I had a friend who had a horse there, so I would spend some time with her. She would let me like groom her horse and, you know, like spend some time with him, spend some time with her. Socializing was really important as well. And that kind of world of horses and being at the stables was completely separate to my revision bubble. And I would never take any of my revision with me to the stables. Like, it was just this very clear line for me, which I needed, because it stopped me from driving myself absolutely crazy and overworking myself and overtiring myself. With exams and with revision, you are using so much energy to try and retain information and recall information and write notes or make mind maps. Like, you are constantly using your brain and your energy to do that. So to use my energy, either use my energy for something else or gain some really nice positive energy from being around horses, for me was a massive help. I think my biggest piece of advice is to prioritise you. With exams, I got really caught up in the idea that everyone was doing more than me, everyone was doing better than me, and seeing that again added to this revision guilt of, should I be doing more? How much should I be doing? If this person is doing like 5 hours of revision a day and I've only managed 2, like why am I not as good? And again, that was so wrong, because we are all so different. Our ability to withstand this prolonged amount of time within a day, for example, of revision is so subjective. For some of us, we might only manage 2 hours of revision. Some people can manage 3 hours, some people can manage 2.5, some people can manage 5. I think, again, taking breaks is so important, but do as much as you can and don't push it, or try not to push it. Because what I found personally is, if I would push myself to do this like X amount of work, I don't know, like X number of hours of work, the next day my revision would suffer because I was too tired from the previous day. Social media for me was like not my friend during exams, because it seems like all your friends are revising, and you'd see Snapchat stories or Instagram stories of like people who are constantly revising and they're like, oh, I've only done this amount of time. I can't even express how upset that made me. And it got to the point where I decided to delete my social media. So I deleted Snapchat and I deleted Instagram, because they were the two that I just was not dealing with at all. And that's not to say that I deleted them permanently. I got them back after I finished my exams, but in that run-up for exams, social media was just so toxic. Our standards and our limits are so completely different, and that is something that really bothered me about social media, and it just made me really unhappy to see all of these people that were in the same boat as me that were, you know, like doing supposedly much better than me. So I deleted it, and it was such a blessing. It was such a good move on my part, as someone who's really anxious and someone who is naturally like inclined to compare themselves to someone else. Deleting my social media was really good. And while I respect that you have to be really careful with that, because it kind of risks that like isolating, like I've still texted a lot of my friends and messaged them through Facebook, things like that. It was just the physical, like seeing on stories especially, that I couldn't deal with. And I really would encourage anyone who's feeling the same way as me, who is struggling to see all of these revision posts and this kind of slight toxicity around it to consider deleting social media for as long as it feels right. Supporting each other and empowering one another is the most important thing as well you could do, but also remember to empower and support yourself. I also found being at school quite hard because a lot of people were really stressed, and I was walking in and there was this really stressful vibe, and I think it's okay to sometimes remove yourself from a situation. I mean, like, if you're sitting with a group of friends and they're all revising and you feel like you can't revise, it's okay to go outside, it's okay to walk, it is okay to do whatever you need to do. It is about you at this point. I found it quite tricky because I was actually much better at revising on my own. I got really stressed if I was revising with other people, and again, that's a completely subjective thing. But for me, revising with other people, I would get worried because I was much slower at processing things. I was much slower at processing things than other people. And I revised for my first exam, my Christianity exam. I revised with one of my best friends, and it was really good. And I did see the positives in revising with her. We understood each other's limits, which was really great, and we both knew that if we needed the break, we could have a break. We could get a cup of tea, we could have a chat, we could watch something. Then similarly, we would plan things together, which was really nice. Like, we had questions from certain topics, and we would plan like the first paragraph, the introduction, and then we would plan what we would put in, and we would memorise the introduction for certain questions, and we had such a laugh doing that. So it was definitely really nice being able to revise with her and being able to make kind of something positive out of what for me felt like a really negative and really anxiety-filled situation. So it was nice, but overall I definitely preferred revising on my own. Oh, another thing that really helped me: plan what you're gonna do as soon as exams are over. For me, so small but so great. I had planned to play Sims 4 on my laptop, and that's basically what I did for like a solid week. No, probably more than that. I was so excited for my exams to be done just so that I could play Sims 4. It's the little things, it's the tiny things. So plan what you're going to do after your exams. I might have some plans for summer, you might make plans for summer now, but keep the end and like the motivator, is that a word? Let's go with it. The motivator in sight. I would also kind of plan treats for myself after my exams as a motivator as well, and they would be really small. Like, most of the time it would be getting myself some chocolate. Simple but sweet. Whatever helped me get through my exam. If I was like struggling mid-exam, I'd think, well, after this is done, this is what I can do, and that really helped. Just remember that you are important and that you are capable of doing this, and that this whole revision situation and this revision bubble and the stress is not going to last forever. It's so nearly over. And then you get to celebrate, and you get to celebrate now as well. As I say, for getting this far, that is such an achievement, and you should be so proud of yourself. And it's like, not everyone can do it. So the fact that you're here, the fact that you're trying, that you're persevering, that you're getting through this stress, that above all is incredible. You are amazing. You know, I would really recommend something I didn't do, but wish I did. It was like, write a post-it note and put it on your mirror, put it on your wardrobe, put it on your door, put it on like whatever, put it on your books as well. You are amazing and you can do this. You have so got this. It's so nearly there. The run-up is stressful, but as long as you prioritise yourself, prioritise your needs, support each other and empower one another, and revise productively, and get yourself like, and make sure that you're not just revising, because that's anti-productive. I am so sure that you'll be fine. Exams were definitely one of the hardest things that I had to go through to this point. But when I got my exam results on results day, I was so relieved. I was so relieved, because I knew that all the hard work and the dedication that I had put into the 2 years that I studied the 2 years that I studied my subject was worth it. And that I'd got into my first choice university, that I was now able to take my gap year. It was just such a relief to be able to have that positive ending. And that does take dedication, and that does take energy. But I am so convinced that it can be a very positive story. As long as you look after yourselves and really take care of yourselves, then I promise you, you'll find it much easier to then be able to move on to sort of taking care of your revision or prioritising your revision. But you come first. If in doubt, remember that there are people to talk to, and there are organisations that you can contact. There's Coop, there is Childline and Samaritans. All of these helplines or organisations are there for you to talk to, and if you are stressed, I would really highly recommend talking to someone. And that doesn't necessarily have to be an organisation, but that also means the people around you, so your friends, your family, the staff at sixth form, your head of year, head of sixth form. There are people there who you can talk to, and honestly, the support that I received from the staff was just incredible, and I never ever regretted going to talk to them about how I was feeling. If I needed a bit of help with either planning revision, or sometimes it was even planning my day so I wasn't revising all the time. If it was asking for some one-on-one revision sessions, that could be arranged. They are there for you, and they want to help you, and they want to see you succeed. So just bear that in mind and use them, because asking for help is not a weakness. It's definitely the opposite, and you have nothing to be ashamed about if you're feeling stressed. If you're not feeling your best, it's okay to talk about that, and it's good that you talk about that, because it can then help you clear your head. And again, that will kind of as a bonus, that will then help you be able to revise more productively. So I think that is all from my side. My aim was to keep it nice and sweet and short, but there is a lot to cover. And yeah, I wish you all the very best of luck. You have all got this, and you are all amazing.